Can introverts be great public speakers? Not only is the answer to that question a yes, it's a resounding yes. Both introverts and extroverts can be great public speakers as long as they use their strengths to their advantage. In this episode, I will show you how introverts can use their strengths and their qualities and leverage them to become great public speakers. This is Showstopping Speakers with me, Mobeen Tahir. Here, I share with you stories and practical tips for becoming a memorable public speaker. So, I'm running this workshop. The workshop is on maximizing your stage presence. And before I ask everyone to participate and do their own individual presentations, I do a little demonstration. And I am here trying to demonstrate the various elements of body language, of presence, of engagement that I want people to pick and identify and recognize from my presentation. Now, after I'm finished and I ask the audience for their feedback, the first thing they observe in my presentation is energy. And I asked them, what about my energy? Was it high? Was it low? They said, well, sometimes it was very high, then you brought it down. And then I asked them, well, on average, what was it? They said, on average, it was high. It was high energy presentation. And at that point, I say to them, yes, and it was deliberate. And I am going to be exhausted after this because I am an introvert. Now, later, after the workshop was over, someone who was in that workshop, they come up to me and they say, I'm surprised that you mentioned that you're an introvert. I wasn't expecting you to say that. Now, the reason why they were surprised is because they see that I'm a public speaker, I'm a public speaking coach, and they associated introversion with maybe shyness, maybe a fear of public speaking, but that's not it. It doesn't mean that if you're an introvert, you are shy and you don't have the confidence to be a public speaker, or you don't have the confidence to take the stage, and only extroverts can do that. That's not how it is. So what I want to debunk in this episode are a few myths. We want to understand both qualities that introverts have and extroverts have, and then we will go into the things that introverts can leverage to really become great speakers. So let's first run through some definitions and understand what introversion and extroversion really mean. First and foremost, introverts. Introverts draw energy from solitude or low stimulation environments. So it's a lot about energy. Introverts recharge when they're alone. They draw energy from solitude or low stimulation environments. They tend to think before speaking and process their thoughts internally. They prefer deep and meaningful conversations over small talk, and they can find social settings draining after a while, even if they enjoy them. Now, if you contrast this with extroverts, they draw their energy from interaction and activity and external stimulation. They often think out loud and process their ideas verbally. They are energized by group settings, conversations, and by being around other people. And of course, if they remain alone for a long time, then they will long for that interaction with others. So here's the distinction. The key distinction is where your energy comes from and how you feel when you interact with others. So introverts get their energy from low stimulation environments, often being alone, and process their thoughts in their own minds and while they're alone. Whereas extroverts get energy from crowds and often think out loud. Now, with this, it is also worth noting that there are some very famous introverts who are spectacular public speakers. One famous example is Barack Obama. Now, we all know Barack Obama is a very charismatic public speaker, leader, ex president of the United States, but still an introvert. And again, it's not that his introversion is holding him back from being a confident leader and an articulate public speaker. It's just the way he gets energy from being alone and processing his thoughts alone, as opposed to getting his energy from crowds. And that's what it's all about. So, the key to know is that it's not always black and white, it's not always this or that. Most people are on a spectrum. Now, you might be an introvert with some qualities of extroverts. You might be an extrovert with some qualities coming from introverts. And most people are somewhere on that spectrum. And anyone, anywhere on that spectrum, can be a great public speaker as long as they know their strengths and they know how to leverage their strengths. So now I will share three things that introverts can leverage, three qualities that introverts have that they can use to really become very impactful public speakers. First and foremost, introverts draw energy from solitude or low stimulation environments. This means they have to bring energy consciously when they present in front of large groups or they speak in front of people. Now, that's a superpower. It's a superpower because while extroverts can be energized by the crowds, introverts have to do it deliberately. They have to do it on purpose. Now, when you step on stage and you raise your energy on purpose, that intentional shift creates a lot of engagement. It creates presence, and that can be very powerful. I personally, before I have a big presentation, I conserve energy. Then I go and I bring my energy when I'm on stage. And afterwards, I recoup because I have to re-energize myself because it's quite an exhausting experience when I'm on stage. So the key is to know that it's not automatic, it's deliberate. For introverts, it's a deliberate effort to bring energy when they go on stage, but when it's done deliberately, it can be very powerful. Number two, introverts think deeply on their own, which makes preparation their strengths. Now, extroverts may like to think out loud, but introverts process their thoughts internally. Now, as public speakers, what that means is when you prepare a talk, you really know your message because you know that you're not just going to be able to process your thoughts when you are in front of others, you prepare ahead of your talk and you put in more effort in the preparation. And this means you know the structure of your presentation. You know how you're going to start. You know how you're going to flow from one message to another. You know your stories. You know how you will conclude, hopefully with a mic drop moment. But that structure means that you are a bit more confident as well. You don't necessarily need a script. You never need a script. You just need to have that structure in your mind. And that gives you the confidence that even if I lose my train of thought mid sentence, I know what messages I want to convey, what structure I'm going to follow. And you've done the preparation to have that in your mind. And knowing that you need that additional preparation because you prefer to process your thoughts while you're alone allows you to bring something very strong when you present in front of others. Number three, introverts love meaningful conversations, so they naturally create genuine connection individually. Now, when in front of an audience, when you're speaking and delivering a presentation, introverts can treat their talk like a series of one to one conversations. Make eye contact individually. Smile when you make eye contact and you talk to individuals. Speak to individuals, not the void, not to everyone all at once, and keep it conversational. So you can almost have a conversation with one person, finish a message, and then have a conversation with another person. That way, everyone will feel as if you were talking to them. And that is very powerful. Now, this is again something that introverts can leverage because they prefer to have individual conversations, deep conversations, meaningful conversations, and create those individual connections. And that, if you bring that to your presentation, that is very powerful. So, the key takeaway is that it's not the case that introverts are shy and don't have the confidence to speak in front of large groups, and extroverts are confident and have the ability to be great speakers. That's not the case at all. In fact, both introverts and extroverts, and anyone in between, anyone on that spectrum, can really leverage their strengths as long as they know what their strengths are and how they can leverage them. And that is the key takeaway. Of course, understand where your strengths are, understand how you can use them, and whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you can be a great public speaker. Thank you for tuning in to Showstopping Speakers with me, Mobeen Tahir. Subscribe for more stories and practical tips wherever you listen to your podcasts. And hopefully, this podcast will help you become a memorable public speaker. And of course, if you find this journey enjoyable and if you found something valuable in this episode, share it with someone who might find it useful as well. And I will see you next time.